Naruto Nine-Tailed Sky Fox. Chapter 16. Naruto ignored Kakashi's speechless expression, raised his eyebrows, and said slowly again, "So I decided to send Sasuke to fight you." After finishing speaking, there was only a black afterimage, rushing towards Kakashi at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Although the speed was fast enough, Kakashi just turned around and avoided Sasuke's seemingly sharp attack. One kick, and then disappeared in front of Naruto. However, Kakashi never expected that just when he thought he had escaped the attack and found his footing again, Sasuke appeared behind him in an instant, and struck again. A powerful horizontal kick came. At this time, one of Kakashi's feet was still in the air. You know, it is difficult for a person's body to use force in the air, so before Kakashi had time to react, he was kicked by Sasuke. Kakashi was kicked away, but the moment he hit the ground, Kakashi turned into a wooden pile. It was obvious that Kakashi had mastered the substitution technique, and no one even knew when he had formed the seal. It can be found on another tree. Kakashi finally noticed Sasuke's state at this time. His eyes widened in disbelief and said, "How is that possible? He was able to open the three Magatama Sharingan eyes at such a young age. Is he a true genius? Not good." Found again. Kakashi jumped to another tree again and said to himself, "It seems that it is impossible not to be serious." I saw Kakashi quickly flipping up his forehead protector, revealing the same scarlet Sharingan as Sasuke, and disappeared in a flash. At the same time, Sasuke was even more horrified than Kakashi, because he discovered that his body didn't seem to be his own anymore. There is only one order in my mind, and that is to fight Kakashi. And his speed suddenly changed so fast that even he was surprised. He couldn't speak yet, as if he was just a puppet now. Thinking back to what Naruto said just now, could it be? Sasuke kept trying to control his eyes to look at Naruto, but his body still rushed in the direction of Kakashi. He couldn't even control his eyes. And there was no room for distraction in such a fast-paced battle, so Sasuke could only accept his fate and continue to struggle with Kakashi. But why does Kakashi-sensei also have the Sharingan? Are we related to the Uchiha clan? But now was obviously not the time to think so much. Not long after Kakashi disappeared, Sasuke quickly took out 3 kunai and threw them at another tree at high speed, while he followed closely and tried to seal the kunai. All of Cassie's teachers escape routes. After all, Kakashi's hiding is nothing in front of Sanmagatama's Sharingan. Faced with such a close series of attacks, Kakashi had no choice but to fall to the ground, looking for Sasuke's flaws. However, Sasuke had already seen through Kakashi's movements, and had already ducked behind Kakashi, hitting Kakashi with a cross kick, but the one that was kicked away was still a wooden stake. At this moment, Kakashi's figure appeared behind Sasuke. In fact, it was Kakashi's clone who was fighting Sasuke at this time. After all, as an elite Jonin, Kakashi cannot use all his strength to fight 3 children. This is why Sasuke can fight Kakashi for so long. Naruto discovered early on that the moment Kakashi flew into the tree, he used the substitute technique and the clone technique at the same time. However, after Naruto's spiritual exploration, the bell on Kakashi's waist was genuine. Note: spiritual consciousness is a type of spiritual power of a cultivator, used to perceive the spiritual energy of everything around him, and has a certain range. The higher the level, the wider the range. This is why Naruto works so hard to control Sasuke. The reason for fighting Kakashi's clone. Although Naruto knew that Kakashi was testing teamwork, Naruto also wanted to try how Kakashi would respond after winning the bell. In fact, since seeing Kakashi yesterday, Naruto knew that he was no match for Kakashi. Although he also has the strength of an elite Jonin, Kakashi has the Sharingan and is very mentally powerful. Naruto's illusions and control techniques have little effect on Kakashi, and Naruto is not going to fight with Kakashi. So as early as when he came to the training ground, Naruto secretly used another secret technique of the Nine-Tailed Sky Fox clan on Sasuke. Spiritual puppet. As the name suggests, the person who performs the technique will be controlled by the operator like a puppet, and be mentally stimulated to double the potential of the body, and fight completely by instinct and the consciousness of the operator. However, the conditions for performing this technique are also abnormal. Harsh. First, the opponent's mental power must be less than 30% of the caster's. Secondly, this technique can only be used on one person at a time. Finally, it can only be used when the opponent is defenseless or not resisting at all. The above 3 points can 100% control this person, and Sasuke, who is only 12 years old, fully meets the above harsh conditions, so Sasuke is destined to be a little brother. After 5 minutes, Sasuke has gradually adapted. How to control the body. He found that as long as his mind was to defeat Kakashi with all his strength, his body could act according to his own wishes and be flexible, so Sasuke immediately tightened his muscles as if he was ready to attack at any time. Cheetah, concentrate all your strength on the base of your calf, and flick it hard. Whoosh! The ground shook violently, and Sasuke disappeared from Kakashi's sight again, obviously faster than before. Kakashi's clone looked at Sasuke, who rushed in front of him in the blink of an eye, feeling really helpless. He is just a clone and doesn't have much chakra, and he has just used the substitute technique 7 or 8 times, and the amount of chakra is running out, and the Sharingan has been consuming chakra, so now he only has I can have a physical duel with Sasuke. Kakashi turned his right foot slightly to one side and twisted his waist backward, perfectly dodging Sasuke's extremely fast and violent spinning kick at an incredible angle. But in the next moment, Sasuke's fist followed closely and came with a strong roar of wind, which forced Kakashi to jump away immediately. However, Sasuke still pursued him, and for a while, the two were inseparable from each other, with no one taking advantage. Time passes like this minute by minute until. At this time, Sakura was hiding aside, nervously observing the battle between Sasuke and Kakashi. Although she wanted to help, she found that there was no room for her to intervene in this battle. Naruto, on the other hand, was still sitting on the grass nearby, leisurely watching the battle between Kakashi and Sasuke, without any intention of helping. This made Sakura very frustrated, and for the first time she thought that she was really too weak. Naruto actually doesn't have much combat experience, nor does he know much martial arts, let alone any ninjutsu. The only thing Naruto is good at is swordsmanship, but there is no sword at this time. However, Naruto feels that the fastest speed is the best offense and the best defense. Therefore, Naruto has been controlling Sasuke to attack as fast as possible, leaving Kakashi no time to form a seal, and can only deal with Sasuke's taijutsu. After all, this is just Kakashi's clone. If it was Kakashi's true body, Sasuke would have been defeated long ago. But in order to keep up with Kakashi's speed, the mental stimulation was too much, and I don't know how long Sasuke can last, but I helped Sasuke open the Sharingan and the 3 Magatama, Sasuke should thank me. Naruto won, he thought indifferently, and continued to assist and direct Sasuke's attack. Sakura, come out, no need to hide, let's watch together how Sasuke, the handsome guy with facial paralysis in our class, defeated Mr. Kakashi. Naruto had already discovered that Sakura was nearby. Seeing how Sakura wanted to help but didn't dare, he was too confused, so he simply called Sakura out. Naruto, is this really okay? Why don't we go up and help Sasuke-kun? After hearing what Naruto said, Sakura hesitated for a moment, but still stood up at a loss. She pinched the corners of her clothes tightly and looked at Sasuke with a worried look. Okay, we will only help more and more if we go up now. Don't worry, I guarantee that we will all pass. Naruto calmly watched the battle between Kakashi and Sasuke and said calmly. Time passed by minute by second. Soon after, Naruto, who had been watching the battle, discovered that Sasuke had gradually fallen into a disadvantage. He was almost at a disadvantage. Being suppressed and beaten by Kakashi's clone made Naruto narrow his eyes. Well, Sasuke is still too young, and his body is almost reaching its limit. Forget it, let's end it. After that, Naruto gently raised his right hand and waved gracefully in Kakashi's direction. In an instant, Kakashi, the bell on Cassie's waist, flew towards Naruto's hand at an extremely fast speed. For a moment, almost everyone present opened their mouths in surprise. Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi. The 3 of them were collectively dumbfounded, and Sasuke broke away from Naruto's mental support and immediately fainted. After a while, Kakashi finally reacted, helped up the unconscious Sasuke, and looked at Naruto complicatedly. As the teacher's child already so strong. Kakashi had just opened his Sharingan, and his whole body was always on alert, but most of his energy was on Sasuke, so he did not expect Naruto to suddenly take action. Not only that, he also did not feel any the chakra fluctuated, but the bell was still taken away by Naruto. This was unexpected by him. Could it be that, the illusion without chakra fluctuation in the classroom last time was also Naruto's handiwork? Kakashi had many thoughts for a while, but it only lasted a few seconds. Then Kakashi stared at Naruto with his dull fish eyes and praised, "Naruto-kun, is he so smart? First you told me that you wouldn't try to paralyze me, then you asked Sakura to come out and watch the battle with you, and once again you made me think that you wouldn't help, but in the end you took the opportunity to grab the bell when I was fighting with Sasuke and it was hard to separate. Is this a plan discussed with Sasuke?" At this time, Kakashi has collected his emotions and returned to his usual laziness. Wow. It turns out that Naruto-kun is so powerful and so handsome. But Sasuke is so strong. He has been fighting Kakashi for so long, and I can't help him much. At this time, Sakura felt extremely depressed. Naruto Black Line. It turns out that Kakashi is also a brainiac. Can I say that you really think too much? However, looking at Sakura's admiring eyes, Naruto still did not tell the truth after all, but nodded lightly and agreed. Kakashi's brainstorming. Kakashi-sensei, now that we have the bell, is it time for the assessment to end? Naruto looked at Kakashi leisurely and shook the bell in his hand. At this time, Sakura also reacted, looking at the unconscious Sasuke and Naruto holding the bell. Just when he was about to say something, his mouth was already opened. She opened it halfway, but suddenly closed it. Obviously she was hesitant to speak, just because at the moment she wanted to speak, Naruto's magnetic voice suddenly sounded in her mind. "Sakura, leave everything to me, you don't need to speak." Although she didn't know how Naruto got into her mind, Sakura was very obedient and didn't open her mouth. Kakashi raised his eyebrows. "Oh. I didn't expect Naruto to be so powerful. He cooperates well with Sasuke, but there are only 2 bells. How should they be distributed?" Kakashi was also looking at Naruto leisurely at this time, as if he was watching a good show. "Oh, this is easy to distribute." After saying that, Naruto threw both bells to Sakura and said calmly, "Sasuke and I are so strong and handsome, it doesn't matter if we are ninjas or not." Naruto had a calm expression on his face, as if ninjas were really nothing special. "Naruto, you are too narcissistic. Have you never thought about Sasuke's feelings?" Kakashi's mouth twitched and he covered his eyes with a speechless expression. This must not be the teacher's child, but Naruto still stood calmly where he was. I wanted to see what Kakashi would do to him. After all, Naruto didn't believe that Kakashi was really willing to throw him and Sasuke back to the ninja school to retrain. After the two were in a stalemate for a while, seeing that Naruto still looked indifferent, Kakashi had no choice but to say, "Oh. You 3 have all passed. We will start class 7 when Sasuke wakes up. Go on a mission. Disband now." After that, Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. "Ah. Naruto-kun, we all passed, oh yeah." After Kakashi left, Sakura finally couldn't hold back her excitement and hugged Naruto hard, then flew to Sasuke's side and hugged the unconscious Sasuke, eating Sasuke's tofu. Poor Sasuke-kun. In the evening, the bloody sunset on the horizon has not yet ended. The warm orange sunlight shines on the entire sky above Konoha, as if there is a layer of golden light, making it warm and dreamlike. Konoha, inside the Hokage building. At this time, the third Hokage with a wrinkled face was standing by the window, taking a deep breath from his pipe, and said in a deep voice, "Kakashi, you just said that Sasuke now has the strength of an elite Chunin, and he also opened his eyes with 3 Magatama writings. Will I? Are you sure?" "Yes, third generation Sama," Kakashi confirmed. Unexpectedly, Sasuke is also a genius who is no worse than Itachi. I think back then, Itachi became a Jonin at the age of 10 and also entered the Anbu. Sasuke is only 12 years old this year and has already opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan. Are all members of the Uchiha clan gods, Kakashi? You must teach Sasuke well and don't let him follow Orochimaru's path. Speaking of Orochimaru, the third generation feels extremely self-blame and regret. There is one more thing, Mr. Third generation, according to my observation, human strength is unfathomable, probably even stronger than Sasuke. However, after our previous investigations, we found that Naruto has never used any ninjutsu, but he was able to steal the bell from my shadow clone without making a sound. He must have some special abilities, maybe the blood succession limit. Kakashi said in a deep voice, and also reported to the third Hokage the maze he encountered last time he went to the ninja school. As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, the third generation, who had always seemed very calm, suddenly turned around, pushed away the pipe, and looked into Kakashi's eyes in horror. What? Is Naruto that strong too? How come? Kakashi, please describe the situation in detail again. When Kakashi described what happened in detail, the third generation lowered his head. The wide brim of the hat made it impossible for Kakashi to see the third generation's expression clearly, and then he only heard the third generation mutter slightly, "Naruto's that I have only seen this ability in Konoha's secret records. It is very similar to one of the abilities of the Rinnegan, the all-seeing tension. Impossible. The third generation of adults. You know, the characteristics of the Samsara eye are very obvious. There was no special change in Naruto's eyes at that time, so this kind of speculation is really a bit strange." Kakashi analyzed again. Kakashi, tell me, will Naruto hate Konoha? After all, Naruto is, the third generation sighed deeply. Probably not. Although Naruto has become a little naughty, he has never lost his temper with anyone, and the villagers also like Naruto. After all, Naruto is much more handsome than the teacher at that time, so he wants to be annoying. All difficult. And the most important point is that Naruto is the teacher's child, so we should believe in Naruto. Isn't it? Kakashi frowned slightly, but still firmly believed in Naruto. Okay, maybe we should believe Naruto, but Kakashi, you'd better take some time to test Naruto. Sandai picked up his pipe again and looked at the Hokage rock outside the window with a nostalgic look on his face. Yes. 7 days later. In the hospital in Konoha village, Naruto opened the door of Sasuke's room and looked at Sasuke who was still unconscious. Naruto raised his eyebrows slightly. Why haven't you woken up yet? Did you control it too much last time? Or should you just open the 3 Magatama Sharingan's side effects? Sasuke's body is too fragile. In the end, he still has to rely on me to save him. It's really a shame. Big hair. Naruto curled his lips in disgust. But he still stretched out his hand and sent a trace of true energy into Sasuke's mind, slowly sorting out Sasuke's messy mental energy. Soon, Sasuke opened his eyes and looked at the white ceiling, his mind empty for a moment. After a while, Sasuke finally found Naruto sitting next to the bed. Naruto, you fool, what did you do to my body? Sasuke immediately grabbed Naruto's clothes and asked. Ah, little Sasuke, please let go of my clothes first. Don't be so rough. It's as if I've raped you and you want me to be responsible. A handsome boy should have the demeanor that a handsome boy should have. The impact of pulling and tugging is so bad. Naruto looked at Sasuke with a look of hatred. Seeing Naruto, who was obviously elegant and noble, say such shameless words, Sasuke seemed to have lost all his strength at this moment, and fell on the bed with a slumped face, staring at the white ceiling blankly, saying that he could not explain. I may not be able to defeat him even if I fight him. I feel so tired, someone will take care of this monster. Seeing the collapsed expression on Sasuke's face, Naruto finally comforted him in a good mood. Calm down, you have to thank me. Not only did I help you open the 3 Magatama Sharingan, but I also developed the strength of your body. Although it's not as strong as when I control it, but you should be as fast as an average Chunin now. With the Sharingan, it's not impossible to catch up with the elite Chunin. Sasuke said. Wasn't he happy to hear that? He said this with a look of disbelief. After all, Naruto had played tricks on him a lot. However, Sasuke looked at Naruto's serious expression at this time and seemed to be not joking. Real. If you don't believe it, see for yourself. Naruto rolled his eyes at Sasuke, looking like he didn't believe it. Sharingan, open. I saw Sasuke's eyes suddenly changed from dark black to scarlet, and the 3 Magatama were distributed around the pupils in a perfect golden ratio, and they were slowly rotating. Sasuke also felt that he was more than twice as powerful at this time. He seemed to be able to see through everything, even the dust in the air. Then he turned around and looked at Naruto. only to find that Naruto was like an ordinary person, without a trace of chakra fluctuations. The harder he tried to sense Sasuke, the more horrified he became, as if Naruto in front of him didn't exist at all, but he actually existed in front of him. At this moment, Sasuke finally realized Naruto's terror. After a while, Sasuke put away his Sharingan and lay down again. Thank you, Naruto. Sasuke had truly regarded Naruto as a friend at this time, and showed a sincere smile to Naruto for the first time. But Naruto saw such a soft smile suddenly appear on Sasuke's paralyzed face, and immediately protected his body. Sasuke, what's that look in your eyes? You're not attracted to me, right? I already have a girl I like, and I will never accept you. Stop being delusional. Sasuke collapsed. Sasuke, what's that look in your eyes? You're not attracted to me, right? I already have a girl I like, and I will never accept you. Stop being delusional. At this moment, Sasuke Jane really wanted to throw Naruto out. However, his body hadn't fully recovered yet, so he had no choice but to turn his head away. He didn't want to see this funny guy anymore. He finally moved him, but it was a waste of his feelings. Okay, Sasuke, if you really thank me, I will leave all the dirty work and the work that damages your image in future missions to you. Don't worry, I won't compete with you. Naruto calmly said a lot of words that made it difficult for Sasuke to calm down. Sasuke, my heart is so tired and I feel like I will never love again. At this time, in Sasuke's ears, Naruto's voice felt like a bell in hell, and every word was beating on his fragile little heart. After a while, everything that needed to be explained was finished. Just as Naruto was about to get up and leave, he glanced at Sasuke's black clothes again. His body suddenly paused, as if he remembered something, and then he stared closely at Sasuke's Uchiha clan emblem, without saying a word for a long time. When Sasuke saw Naruto staring at his clothes, he couldn't help but turn to Naruto strangely and asked with his eyes what was going on. Sasuke, your family is so big. I want to see if you have a weapons warehouse or something like that. Naruto stared closely into Sasuke's eyes, his expression had never been so serious. Sasuke's eyes twitched. The style of painting changes so fast, let me take a moment. Indeed, do you need any weapons? Come and check it out with me later. Anyway, I feel like I'm almost fine and can be discharged from the hospital. Let's go. Sasuke had recovered from facial paralysis at this time and said to Naruto calmly. Soon after, in Uchiha's secret warehouse, Naruto used his spiritual consciousness to explore it 3 times and found that there was still no true energy that could be integrated and used in this huge warehouse. The long sword. However, Naruto found some very subtle fluctuations that resonated with Naruto's consciousness. In the most remote corner of the warehouse, 2 very ordinary shurikens fell. They were about the size of a fist, shaped like a 4-blade fan, and were covered with dust. There was nothing special about them at all. But when Naruto picked up these 2 shurikens, he was very sure that these were no ordinary hands. Shuriken, because even his consciousness at this time couldn't see through the grades of these 2 shurikens. At night, with a faint smile on his lips, Naruto sat on the bed and looked at these 2 ordinary-looking shurikens. After Naruto's careful cleaning and wiping, he found that the 2 shurikens were still gray, as if they could never be wiped clean. But Naruto had a feeling that these 2 shurikens were definitely good things. Because its hardness is comparable to that of a mid-grade spiritual weapon, but only 2 small shurikens were made. It must be that there are too few raw materials to make other things. Although it was not as good as the flying sword, it was a bit of comfort to Naruto. These 2 shurikens are not only extremely hard, but also have the function of identifying the master among spiritual weapons, and can also be engraved with formations and integrated into them. For Naruto, who currently has almost no high destructive means, they are simply a great weapon. Naruto did not rush to recognize his master, but first integrated his spiritual power, what cultivators call spiritual consciousness, into it so that he could better control the 2 shurikens. Later, Naruto carved various formations on the 2 shurikens. The first one was the defensive formation, but this formation was relatively ordinary and could only increase the hardness of the shurikens. The second formation is the wind formation. This formation will increase the throwing speed of the shuriken several times, blend into the wind, and produce a tearing cutting effect, which is extremely sharp. Originally, Naruto wanted to draw some more illusion formations and confusion formations, but due to the lack of spiritual stones and spiritual fluids, and the size of the shurikens, they were too small. You must know that the triggering condition of the illusion array must be that the enemy is looking at the shuriken with all his attention. But who would look at such a small shuriken in a battle? So Naruto hesitated for a while and decided to give up the illusion. The blessing of the array. Looking at the two freshly made shurikens, Naruto felt a sense of accomplishment, but then, a tangled look suddenly appeared on Naruto's face, but the tangled look only lasted for a while, and gradually turned into firm. Naruto pulled out one of the shurikens and placed it on his chest. A drop of crimson blood slowly emerged from Naruto's chest and scattered on the gray shuriken. This blood is the blood of Naruto's heart. A cultivator needs to do this to identify the owner of a spiritual weapon. It doesn't just involve cutting his finger casually. Then, a scene that surprised Naruto appeared. After being recognized by the blood in Naruto's heart, the originally gray shuriken turned into shining gold as if it had been reborn. A faint stream of light surrounds the whole body, and it is obvious at first glance that it is not ordinary. Naruto then put away the other shuriken and lay down to rest. Early the next morning, Naruto first went to Tenten's weapons store, wanting to give another shuriken to Tenten for self-defense. You must know that the shuriken also incorporated a ray of Naruto's consciousness. In this way, Naruto people can know Tiantian's whereabouts at any time. But other clerks at the weapon shop told him that Tiantian had gone on a mission with Teacher Kai a long time ago and had not come back for 2 days. Although he didn't find Tiantian, Naruto was not too disappointed. After all, the days are long and there will always be opportunities in the future. Then Naruto walked leisurely to the gathering place. Today is Sasuke's first day out of the hospital and Kakashi's first day on duty. Sure enough, after arriving at the meeting place, they continued to wait for Kakashi for another hour. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were all used to it by now, and it would be weird if Kakashi wasn't late. When Kakashi finally appeared, he told them that they had taken over the mission. It's nothing more than helping the villagers carry water, pull weeds, take care of children and a series of tedious tasks. However, Naruto was very calm at this time and still maintained a calm smile. He had Sasuke, didn't he? Sakura and Sasuke's expressions were not so good. Looking at Sasuke and Sakura who were constantly busy, Naruto felt that life was so beautiful. Lying on the tree and looking at the blue sky, occasionally thinking about the beautiful and moving Tiantian, and then thinking about the happy life after being together with Tiantian, with a sweet smile hanging on the corner of my mouth. However, just when Naruto was so comfortable, Kakashi's disturbing voice suddenly sounded again. Won't Naruto help? After all, you are in a group, and unity is essential. Kakashi sat on another tree, holding a small yellow book, and said lazily towards Naruto. Although Kakashi interrupted the beautiful longing, but Naruto was not angry, still lying comfortably on the branch, and said leisurely, okay, Sasuke lost a bet with me yesterday, so from now on, all my work will be taken care of by Sasuke, unless it is something above sea level mission, otherwise I wouldn't take action. If you want me to help, you can only see when Kakashi-sensei takes on the high-level mission. Kakashi was speechless. A minute of silence for Sasuke. Ah, by the way, Kakashi-sensei, I suggest that you leave all the work to Sasuke and let Sakura go to the medical class to study. Otherwise, Sakura really has no combat ability, and Sakura's chakra control her strength is very good, maybe she will become the second Tsunade. Naruto's leisurely voice came again. Well, I'll think about it carefully. Kakashi said with a black line, and once again observed a minute of silence for Sasuke. It is really a tragedy to have a teammate like Naruto who thinks about him. Kakashi looked at Naruto's leisurely look at this time, and the breeze was blowing Naruto the spotless clothes, the faint sunlight shining through the branches of the trees, looked different from ordinary people. Looking at such a beautiful scene, Kakashi hesitated several times, as if he was embarrassed to break the tranquility of the moment. Kakashi was embarrassed, but that didn't mean Naruto was embarrassed. Seeing Kakashi's expression of not saying anything, Naruto was already tired of waiting and simply said, Kakashi-sensei, if you have anything to say, just say it. Well, don't be so hesitant, like a girl. Kakashi pondered for a while, and then asked slowly, Naruto, who did you learn those wonderful abilities from? Can you tell me? No one is born with it. Naruto didn't hesitate at all and replied seemingly casually. Kakashi, you are simply lazier than me. You can just make up a story for me. Why don't you tell me such nonsense? Who would believe such boring nonsense? In fact, Kakashi really blamed Naruto wrongly. These abilities are really innate. Once the nine-tailed sky fox awakens, it will activate the inherited memory. All abilities come from the inherited memory, so Naruto did not lie. However, Kakashi didn't know about this, so he was mentally exhausted and prepared to find another way to ask questions. Then Naruto, don't you need to practice ninjutsu? I see you doing nothing and leisurely every day. How strong is your strength now, can you tell me? Ninjutsu, no, there is indeed no chakra in my body. I believe you have discovered it a long time ago. As for the level now, I don't know. I haven't fought anyone specifically. After all, it is such an inelegant thing. Why bother to do it? It's really troublesome. Naruto was lying on the tree with his eyes closed as if concentrating, and his voice gradually became lazy. Kakashi's eyes narrowed, and he thought to himself, so Naruto really has no chakra, is he affected by the nine tails? But what are the limits of Naruto's inheritance? It's really amazing that I don't need to use chakra. I finally asked for some useful information. It's really not easy. I thought Naruto wouldn't tell me. After a while, when Kakashi wanted to ask more questions, he found that Naruto had already fallen asleep. Looking at Naruto, who was still as elegant as a prince in his sleep, Kakashi felt good again tired. Around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Naruto finally woke up leisurely, because today's mission had been completed in advance by Sasuke and Sakura. After all, with Sasuke's current strength, doing these D-level missions was simply a waste of time. After asking Kakashi about Kaiban's movements, he found out that they had taken on an escort mission every day and it would take several days before they could come back. Knowing this, Naruto shrugged regretfully, then said goodbye to Kakashi-sensei and prepared to go home. However, when passing by Sasuke, Naruto's lips suddenly raised a smirk, as if he suddenly remembered something interesting. In the early morning of the next day, before dawn, Naruto quietly appeared in front of Sasuke's room. At this time, Naruto did not restrain his breath, so as soon as Naruto appeared, Sasuke discovered it, but Sasuke did not intend to wake up at this time, because wow, Sasuke, you fell asleep. I didn't expect you to be a sultry type. With a nice figure, Naruto suddenly lifted Sasuke's quilt and teased in Sasuke's ear with an evil voice. Naruto. Listening to Sasuke's angry roar, it seemed as if the whole house was shaking. Only Naruto was still calmly scanning Sasuke's figure. Well, calm down, Sasuke, I'm here to train you today. Get up quickly, I'll be waiting for you at the door in 10 minutes. Although he said this, Naruto had no intention of leaving at all, and looked at Sasuke with great interest. Naruto, you. Can't. Get. Out first. Sasuke gritted his teeth and hugged the quilt and yelled word by word. If the uninformed person saw that resentful look, they would really think it was Naruto, that Sasuke. Then Naruto curled up the corner of his mouth and said regretfully, oh, Sasuke, you are so boring. After that, he turned around and left Sasuke's room. 10 minutes later, looking at the still dark sky, Sasuke stood next to Naruto with his head full of black lines, staring at Naruto, as if waiting for his explanation. Naruto said with a faint smile, oh, don't be so resentful, Sasuke. I'm here to make you stronger, only when day and night change and the sun rises. The training effect is the best. Come on, I will take you to a quiet place. After saying this, Naruto slowly walked towards the woods of Konoha, and Sasuke could only follow helplessly. 10 minutes later, Naruto looked at the clear waterfall in front of him and listened to the gurgling stream. He felt extremely comfortable and then nodded with satisfaction. Okay, this is it. From the looks of it, it looks like it was just a temporary place. Obviously Sasuke thought so too. He followed Naruto with a speechless face and complained, "Is it really okay to find a place so casually?" However, Naruto ignored Sasuke's thoughts and immediately turned around, looked seriously into Sasuke's eyes, and said calmly, "Sasuke, do you know your own flaws?" Defect. Sasuke looked at Naruto with a questioning look on his face. "Yes, you have three major flaws. First of all, you have insufficient chakra control and don't know how to use it flexibly. This is your number one flaw. Secondly, your endurance is obviously insufficient and your physical strength is too poor. This is your second major flaw. The last thing is the Sharingan you just opened. Due to your lack of control over the Sharingan, it has not become your help, but has become another burden. The above are your three major flaws." "Naruto, how do you know so much?" Sasuke asked in horror. Even his words were a little incoherent. Naruto frowned slightly and said dissatisfied, "Don't worry about how I know, you just need to know that you are still very weak. You said you were weak, how can you charge into the battle for me? If you encounter a strong enemy, you will be defeated in a short time. Kakashi's unreliable thing will definitely not be counted on. In the end, you will ask me to clean up the mess for you. You are so responsible. My brothers." Naruto now looked at Sasuke with a very iron expression. "Sasuke, when did I become your little brother? Are you making me stronger just for your laziness? Why can't I be happy at all?" But Sasuke only thought about these words in his heart and did not dare to say them out. Okay, although I won't teach you any ninjutsu, nor will I teach you how to train your body, nor will I teach you any martial arts," Naruto said calmly. Naruto obviously hasn't finished speaking yet, but Sasuke's head is already filled with black lines. "Why did you call me here?" Sasuke clenched his fists and tried his best to resist the urge to hit Naruto. He could only complain silently in his heart. Naruto seemed not to see Sasuke's wrinkled face and continued to say calmly, "But, I can strengthen the purity of your blood chakra eyes, as well as chakra control methods. From my last observation, opening the Sharingan is nothing more than absolute mental stimulation. And Sasuke, you should also know that the three Magatama is not the highest form of your clan's blood inheritance. There is also a kaleidoscope and an eternal kaleidoscope above it. Although your eyes can be opened through huge stimulation, because Sasuke is now a three Magatama, simple stimulation has no effect. Therefore, my current method is to remove the impurities from your spiritual world, making your spiritual power more solid, and perhaps opening the kaleidoscope." When Sasuke heard what Naruto said, he immediately said excitedly, "I understand, what are you going to do? Next, I will perform a secret technique on you. Don't resist, so that it can be performed 100% successfully. In the secret technique, you will see another self in the inner world. You must try your best to defeat the other self before you can wake up safely. Otherwise, you will have to fight with yourself in the spiritual world forever, so you must not take it lightly." Naruto changed his usual leisurely attitude and said extremely seriously, "Yes. Are you ready? Don't resist, relax, I'm getting started. Secret technique Jinghua Shui Yu." Naruto immediately closed his eyes when he saw Sasuke nodding. When he opened them again, Naruto's eyes had turned red. Naruto's hands were changing rapidly, and after a while, he saw Sasuke's body. With a twist, he slowly reached down. Looking at Sasuke who had fallen to the ground, Naruto sat down boredly. The majestic wind blew through the treetops, and the cicadas in early summer were chirping softly. The whole world seemed to be filled with only his own heartbeat, ethereal and distant. Then Naruto also crossed his legs and started practicing. 6 hours later, it was already daybreak. At this time, Sakura stood alone at the meeting place, already very close to the edge of going berserk. Hateful. Why didn't anyone come? Ah gee. I will definitely not come so early next time. Ah sneeze. But the only response to Sakura was a row of crows flying slowly in the sky. And on this side, Sasuke finally woke up leisurely. Slowly opening his eyes, he saw that Sasuke's scarlet blood chakra eyes were now clearer and brighter, as if they were flowing with a faint light, confusing his mind, but they were still three Magatama. "Sasuke, how do you feel? Isn't it particularly cool?" Naruto returned to his usual elegant smile at this time. My Sharingan feels less burdened, I can see more clearly, and I feel like my chakra amount has increased. Sasuke said in surprise. Well, the effect is good. 2 weeks later, I will use Mirror Flower Water Moon on you again. However, this technique can only be used on the same person 3 times in a lifetime. So I will use it for the last time when you need it most. I hope you can open the Mangekyo Sharingan in one fell swoop by then. Otherwise, how can you be my thug and charge into battle for me? You know, Sakura and I both need protection. Naruto said such words that were inconsistent with the painting style with an angelic smile. Sasuke, I was quite touched when I heard the previous words, but will you die if you don't say those last few words? Naruto, is it really okay for such an elegant person to say such shameless words? Can we still happily be teammates together? Okay, Sasuke, look at how much I've helped you, should you treat me to dinner? I'm already hungry, let's go. I'll treat you to a barbecue, but you pay. We'll gather together after the meal. Sakura is probably impatient. I'll train your chakra control ability after today's mission is completed. After that, Naruto slowly turned around and walked forward. Naruto, thank you. At this time, Sasuke looked at Naruto's back in front of him, said softly, and then followed him. When Naruto and Sasuke arrived at the meeting point, they found that Sakura's face was so green that she almost turned into a ghost and floated away in the wind. Although she had waited for a long time, Sakura was too embarrassed to accuse Sasuke and Naruto. After all, they were so good looking that I couldn't bear it, so I could only stare at them with resentful eyes. Naruto and Sasuke were a little embarrassed when they looked at Sakura's resentful eyes. They said haha and asked Sakura to have dinner in the evening. After all, Kakashi-sensei didn't come either. After the three of them waited in the wind for nearly an hour, Kakashi's lazy figure finally arrived. Naruto narrowed his eyes and couldn't bear to see Kakashi coming so late with a little yellow book in his hand. He immediately stepped forward and took out Kakashi's little pornographic book and threw it into the smelly ditch aside. He raised his eyebrows and said, Kakashi-sensei, did you help another old lady today or did you meet a leprechaun somewhere? Where's the female cat? Kakashi first looked at the already dead love paradise and made sure he couldn't see it anymore, then scratched his hair in embarrassment and said, aha, that situation. That's it. I found someone raping a girl on the road today. I fought with the gangster for 300 rounds, but there were too many gangsters, so it was delayed until so late. Kakashi told more and more things, and finally he seemed to believe it, and nodded seriously. Sasuke and Sakura are in trouble again. Kakashi-sensei is really getting better and better at making up stories. Although Naruto was a little speechless, he was not a vegetarian. Then Naruto's eyes flashed, and he looked at Kakashi ambiguously and said, with Kakashi-sensei's strength, it only takes 5 minutes at most to deal with some gangsters. The real reason is probably the one who was rescued. When the woman saw how brave Kakashi-sensei was, she immediately pledged herself to him. So, it must be that woman who fought you for 300 rounds. Kakashi-sensei. So good. So powerful. Kakashi sweated. What Naruto said makes sense. I'm speechless. What should I do? Okay, no more joking, Kakashi-sensei. You have been our teacher for more than a week. Is it interesting to take on D-level tasks every day? The teachers in other classes are all well trained. How long do you want to be lazy? Kindness. Naruto asked, looking directly into Kakashi's eyes. That's right. When Naruto saw Kakashi's lazy look, an idea flashed in his mind, and he immediately decided to hand over the task of training Sasuke to control chakra directly to Kakashi. After all, it was also taught by Kakashi in the original work, and Naruto has no chakra in his body, so I'm afraid he can't explain it to Sasuke. And in this way, Sakura can also be trained together, laying a foundation for Sakura to enter the medical class in the future. Kakashi, who had been embarrassed just now, became even more embarrassed when he heard Naruto say this. He immediately retracted his hand that was about to take out another pornographic book and continue reading. He immediately touched his nose and said haha. Oh, actually I was going to train you today, haha. Although he said this, Kakashi was bursting into tears in his heart. Full face. It seems that he can't be lazy anymore, and he also took on a bunch of D-level tasks when he came here. The plan was completely disrupted, which was simply a tragedy. But in a moment, Kakashi calmed down, looked at the three of them seriously and said, "You go to the number 7 training ground and wait for me. I will arrive soon." After that, Kakashi disappeared in front of Naruto and the others, probably going to the Hokage building to retire from the mission. When Sakura and Sasuke heard that Kakashi was finally going to train them, they were very excited and immediately ran to training ground number 7. Only Naruto walked slowly at the back, as elegant as a prince. 20 minutes later, training ground number 7. Konoha's training ground number 7 is built in the middle of a forest, with a long stream running through it and surrounded by groups of towering trees. Kakashi stood in front of Naruto and the three of them, and said in a rare serious voice, "I announce that training has officially begun now. But before we begin, I need to reiterate to you the significance of chakra to ninjas." Sasuke immediately curled his lips and said nothing, because he was completely uninterested in Kakashi's nonsense, and Sakura's theoretical knowledge was also very good, so she did not interrupt, while Naruto had no chakra at all and did not need it. Listen. Seeing that none of the three people had any desire to speak, Kakashi could only continue helplessly. The so-called chakra is a kind of energy when ninjas use ninjutsu. This energy comes first from the body energy contained in every cell in the human body. The second is derived from the spiritual energy accumulated over time through practice and experience. It is composed of these two, that is to say, ninjutsu is to absorb these two kinds of energy from the body, and then refine these two kinds of energy into chakra, and then activate it through different seals. The above is the specific formation of ninjutsu process. At this time, Sasuke finally couldn't help it anymore. "We have known about this kind of thing for a long time, and we have been able to successfully use many ninjutsu. You'd better tell me how to train," Sasuke said anxiously. "No, you don't understand, as I just said, although the process of casting ninjutsu is roughly the same. However, different ninjutsu require different amounts of chakra. This requires good control. Insufficient chakra release will not only lead to a great reduction in ninjutsu, but also cause ninjutsu to fail. If you use too much chakra, it will cause unbalanced use, waste chakra, severely consume your physical strength, and cause a fatal weakness that cannot last long in combat." Kakashi looked into Sasuke's eyes and replied seriously. At this time, Sakura finally understood the importance of chakra control and immediately asked, "Then, what should we do?" Kakashi calmly stretched out a finger and pointed to the top of his head, "Climb the tree." "Climb a tree. We already know this," Sakura and Sasuke asked in confusion at the same time. "Yes, but the method is different, it needs to be like this." After that, Kakashi stepped onto the nearest tree, without relying on any help, and walked up vertically step by step steadily. When Kakashi had already walked halfway through, he hung upside down on a branch, turned over, and landed easily in front of Sasuke. "Do you understand? Gather the chakra on the feet and control the output, so that it can be accurately absorbed on the tree trunk. Okay, now you train on your own." But Kakashi's eyes suddenly condensed at this time, turned to Naruto and asked, "Naruto-kun, you don't have chakra in your body, what are you going to do?" Kakashi's eyes were sharp at this time, he looked at Naruto quietly, and asked in a deep voice, "I wonder what Naruto-kun is going to do." Naruto's mouth corners still maintained a charming arc, and he didn't care about the card. Cassie questioned. Then he tapped the ground lightly with his toes and stood up in the air, hanging steadily in the air with an astonishing momentum. Then Naruto slowly raised his right foot and walked calmly in the void step by step, as if walking on flat ground. Every step was so graceful, charming, and thrilling, constantly shocking the minds of the three Kakashis. It wasn't until Naruto had already walked onto one of the trees that he continued to walk up vertically like Kakashi had just done. Soon after, Naruto was standing on a leaf at the edge of the branch. Her golden hair flutters in the wind, and her white robes flutter like butterflies. She looks like an ancient Greek god, standing proudly between heaven and earth. Kakashi opened his mouth in horror and his pupils shrank. At some point, the scarlet Sharingan appeared, staring closely at Naruto floating on the leaves. You know, Naruto was standing on a fluttering leaf. Kakashi dares to say that even the Hokage cannot achieve such terrifying control ability. Sakura and Sasuke were even more stunned at this moment. They looked at Naruto without blinking and did not recover for a long time. Kakashi-sensei, now do you think, do I still need training? Naruto, who was standing on the tree, was very satisfied with the expressions of the three people below him. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and his expression was leisurely and comfortable. After a while, Kakashi was the first to come to his senses and contain the shock in his heart. He regained his lazy expression and said calmly, "Well, it seems that Naruto doesn't need to train anymore. Now it's your turn. Don't be lazy." At this time, Sasuke also gradually calmed down. Although his eyes were still tight staring at Naruto's figure, he thought silently in his heart, "This feels really strong. If I were as strong as Naruto, it shouldn't be difficult to kill Itachi." Sakura continued to stare at Naruto in a daze. Obviously her ability to accept was completely inferior to Kakashi and Sasuke, and she still had not come to her senses. In fact, Naruto's skills are just some simple cultivator's tricks. Using the light body technique combined with simple floating techniques, it is easy to stand in the air. I believe that if I were here every day, I could easily do it. However, Naruto obviously underestimated the shock his move caused in Kakashi's heart. You know, Kakashi knew that Naruto didn't have any chakra in his body. But, even Naruto without chakra can achieve such terrifying control, and it seems to be very easy. So at this time, in Kakashi's mind, he believed that Naruto's strength was definitely more terrifying than he imagined. If Naruto knew what Kakashi was thinking at this moment, he would probably laugh like crazy. Seeing that the three of them had gradually come to their senses, Naruto had no intention of continuing to stay on the leaf. With a wave of his hand, countless leaves formed a huge vortex like a tornado, and Naruto gently stepped onto the vortex formed by the leaves and slowly landed next to Sasuke. Although Naruto's move once again shocked the three of Kakashi, it is obvious that their ability to accept it now is much stronger than before, and they will not lose their composure like just now. At this time, Naruto, who had landed on the ground, looked at Sasuke calmly and did not move his mouth, but Naruto's faint voice still sounded in Sasuke's mind. "Sasuke, don't envy me, my abilities are not something you can learn. So it's better to intensify your training. This was originally how I planned to train you on chakra control, but now I just changed it to Kakashi. You know, chakra control is still necessary. You have to work hard and try out a few more ninjutsu from Kakashi. After all, it would be a serious waste to have the Sharingan and not use it. Try to become stronger as soon as possible, so that if there are any minions in the future, I won't have to take action myself, do you understand?" Sasuke black line, what the hell is that last sentence? Sasuke was already used to being hit by Naruto and had already accepted his fate. He didn't refute anything. He could only turn his grief and anger into motivation and immediately rushed towards one of the trees. On the other side, Sakura had easily sat on the branch of one of the trees and shouted happily to Kakashi-sensei, "Kakashi-sensei, this doesn't seem to be difficult." Oh, sure enough, Sakura's chakra control ability is really good. It seems it's time to transfer Sakura to the medical class. Kakashi looked at Sakura, who succeeded in just one attempt. He was very pleased and thought silently in his heart. "Sakura, you did a good job. Come on down, there is the next training content." "Ah, really? I'll come right away." Sakura immediately stepped on the branches and ran vertically down. "Sasuke, you continue training, and when you finish climbing the tree, come to the river to find me." Kakashi informed Sasuke and took Sakura away. At this time, only Naruto was left to accompany Sasuke and continue to climb the tree. But when Naruto saw that it had been half an hour, Sasuke he could only climb a little higher. This made Naruto very worried about Sasuke's talent. He had used Kyoka Suigetsu on Sasuke in the morning, and he had the mental puppet from a week ago. It stands to reason that Sasuke's mental power should be strong now. It's very powerful. It only took so long to climb a tree. It's like a child. After watching Sasuke climb for a while, Naruto couldn't help it and reminded him, "Sasuke, stay calm. Be angry, relax, concentrate, don't think about anything else, you know, calm down first, don't continue." Sasuke finally stopped when he heard Naruto say this. Indeed, he was too eager just now. When he saw that even Sakura could complete it so easily, Sasuke was very anxious and eager to become stronger. He really didn't have a good attitude. After a while, Sasuke calmed down, listened to Naruto's instructions, concentrated, and didn't think about other things. Sure enough, he found that climbing a tree was actually very simple. After finding the trick, Sasuke couldn't. He walked up to the top of the tree very easily. At this time, Sasuke stood on the top of the tree, overlooking Naruto sitting on the grass, with a very serious look on his face, and said softly, "Thank you very much, Naruto." Although Sasuke's voice was very small, Naruto still heard it. However, Naruto didn't react much, he just raised the corners of his mouth with a slight arc. The time of cultivation always flies by very quickly. In the blink of an eye, 3 weeks have passed. Kakashi has finally given up on the idea of taking on D-level missions for Team 7. Since Sakura had already been recommended to Konoha's medical class by Kakashi, almost all D-level tasks were completed by Sasuke alone, and Naruto really didn't help at all. Every time he saw Sasuke alone working hard on a task, Kakashi wanted to observe 3 seconds of silence for Sasuke. Nowadays, Sasuke has been baptized by Naruto twice. Although he still has not turned on the kaleidoscope, he has made great progress. The first is that the chakra is more concentrated and thicker. The amount of chakra has completely caught up with the average Jonin, and is almost comparable to Kakashi. Secondly, the burden on the Sharingan is greatly reduced, and the ability to control chakra is even more controllable. Strictly speaking, Sasuke is now a real elite Chunin, and with the help of Sharingan, he is even better than the average elite Chunin. However, there is still a gap between him and a Jonin. After all, Sasuke is still too young, his bones are not fully developed, and his combat experience is pitiful. Therefore, Kakashi also knows that for the current Sasuke and Naruto, D-level missions can no longer provide any training. That's why Kakashi and Naruto and the 3 of them appeared in Konoha's mission hall today. Hokage-sama, after my inspection for nearly a month, Team 7 is fully qualified for C-level tasks. Kakashi looked at the 3rd generation seriously and said in a deep voice. The 3rd generation put down his cigarette and looked at Kakashi in surprise. Now, it became clear immediately, really. In that case, please come in, Mr. Danas. Squeak. I saw an old man with a white beard in slovenly clothes and smelling of alcohol walking in slowly. He glanced at Naruto and the others seemingly casually. What? Are these 2 brats really ninjas? Why don't you become an actor if you are so handsome? Isn't it just a show off? Especially the one in white clothes, making movies. Danas said drunkenly and gibberish. Naruto at this time was very tall, and Sasuke and Sakura were not short either, so Danas could only find another way to mock them. After all, Danas lacked confidence. Only by belittling them can you elevate yourself. However, Naruto and Sasuke still have a black line, because this statement not only praises them for being handsome, but also undermines them and is of no use. Moreover, Naruto was actually a movie maker in his previous life, which made him not know how to refute for a moment. Even Kakashi held his forehead helplessly at this time. It's all because of Naruto. He's dressed too slutty, and he really doesn't look like a ninja at all. Okay, Kakashi, your 7th class will set off tomorrow morning. Escorting Mr. Danas to the land of waves successfully will be considered as completing the mission. Do you understand? Seeing how awkward the atmosphere was, the 3rd generation immediately intervened. Yes. The next day, at 9 o'clock in the morning, all members of Team 7 gathered at the gate of Konoha. Now, the sun is coming out from the west today. Kakashi-sensei is actually not late. Maybe something bad will happen later. When Naruto saw that Kakashi was rarely so punctual, he couldn't help but joked. Sasuke and Sakura behind him had a look of recognition. Kakashi couldn't help coughing twice when he saw this scene, reminding him they still have outsiders here, give him some face. Then they discovered that there was an old man with a white beard behind Kakashi, holding a wine gourd in his hand. It was their client for this mission, Natsu. After leaving the village, Danas saw Naruto, still wearing a white kimono, walking leisurely in front of him, as leisurely as if he were walking in his own garden. He couldn't help but silently complained in his heart. These three brats are really fine. Isn't that reliable? But looking at Kakashi walking in front, Danas never said anything. After all, Konoha is the #1 ninja village, and it is not something that a small country like the Land of Waves can offend. Started. In fact, this was Naruto's first time out of the village. Looking at the endless green scenery on both sides of the road, the breeze blew the treetops, making a whistling sound. The air was filled with the breath of early summer, making Naruto couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. Feel the true beauty of nature while walking. Sakura, on the other hand, asked Kakashi various questions along the way. Kakashi-sensei, why is the escort mission to the Land of Waves a sea-level mission? You must know that this mission spans a country, not only the distance is long, but also requires a boat, so Sakura is very puzzled by this. Sasuke also looked at Kakashi with doubtful eyes at this time, obviously he also wanted to know why. Kakashi put down the yellow book, looked at Sakura and explained, you all know that the ninja world is divided into 5 major countries. For the countries on the mainland, the ninja village can be counted as one country, of military power. In other words, in order to maintain a balanced relationship between the ninja village and the big country, the ninja village is not controlled by the country's daimyo and other leaders. The two are in an equal employment relationship. After a pause, Sakura slowly digested it. After this information, Kakashi said again, the country of waves is different. The country of waves is an independent island, surrounded by water, with inconvenient transportation and not easy to control. That's why there are no ninjas, and the country of waves is very poor, and most people can't afford to hire ninjas to work for them. That's why this mission is classified as a sea-level mission. Not only that, there will be no ninja duel in the sea-level mission. At most, there will only be bandits and bandits. Do you understand? Oh, so that's it. Sakura nodded clearly. After walking for a while, Naruto finally saw the so-called small puddle. His eyes twitched and he was very speechless. How did these two brothers become ninjas? Are you idiots? Such a round and clean small puddle is blocking the middle of the road. Didn't you tell us clearly that there is an ambush on this road? Can you be more professional? Although Naruto and his party, except for Sakura and Danas, all found out that there was something wrong with this small puddle, they all had a tacit understanding and did not say anything, and still walked forward calmly. Just as Kakashi passed by this small puddle, a black shadow suddenly jumped up, and above this black shadow, there was another black shadow lurking. They saw 2 black shadows immediately rushing towards the nearest to them. Kakashi. The iron chain with countless black serrations quickly wrapped around Kakashi's body and tightened it at the same time. In an instant, Kakashi's body immediately turned into a puddle of flesh in front of Naruto and others. First one, solved. Kakashi-sensei. At this time, Sakura was completely stunned, because in Sakura's heart, Kakashi has always been a very powerful existence. But now, even such a powerful Kakashi was killed by the enemy in an instant. This can only mean that one thing. The enemy's strength is terrifying. No. I must cheer up. Sakura immediately put away her fear, pulled out her kunai and placed it tightly in front of Danas, staring at the ghost brother's figure with all her attention. Although Sakura's mentality was good, she was also thinking too much. In fact, it's really not that complicated. Naruto, who had been walking in front, didn't even look at Kakashi, but slowly ordered Sasuke. Sasuke, fight quickly and remember to stay alive. And Kakashi-sensei, come out when you've seen enough of the show. It's so bloody and disgusting. I can't even eat dinner. Didn't you see that Sakura is already frightened by you? As the ghost brother was easily eliminated by Sasuke, Danas finally let go of his hanging heart. At the same time, Naruto, who had been staying in front, finally turned around, looked at Danas with a smile and said, "Old man, are you hiding something important from us, huh?" Danas's eyes dodged. Not daring to look directly into Naruto's eyes, he hesitated. No. I have nothing to hide. After seeing the enemy being easily dispatched by Sasuke, Kakashi stopped hiding and slowly walked out from the side of the woods. Kakashi-sensei, you are still alive. But please consider other people's feelings before dismembering the body next time, okay? Sakura shouted at Kakashi without any image at this time. It was obvious that Sakura was really frightened at that moment. After all, this was her first time out of the village on a mission. She had never seen such blood. Scene. However, Kakashi ignored Sakura's outburst and still stood lazily aside, his voice not apologetic at all. "Oh, Sakura, I just wanted to confirm the target of the opponent's attack. I scared you. I'm really sorry, but your response this time was pretty good and deserves praise. Since Sasuke has captured the two of them alive, just torture them directly, right, Mr. Danas?" Kakashi had already walked to the Ghost Brothers at this time, looked at their forehead protectors, frowned slightly, and said, "These two are ninjas from Kurigakure village. They have always believed that they will not die until they complete their mission. Famous for being non-stop, it seems that this mission is in trouble." The two Ghost Brothers ignored Kakashi, who recognized their identities at a glance, but stared at Sasuke closely. They really couldn't imagine that their two brothers were easily defeated by a 12-year-old kid, and they had no power to fight back. It was a great shame and humiliation. "Tell me what your purpose is." Kakashi looked at the Ghost Brother and asked in a deep voice. However, the Ghost Brother looked at Kakashi very hard at this time. "We are both ninjas. Failure in the mission is a failure. We will never reveal any information. This you should be clear about this. If you want to kill or cut into pieces, it's up to you, we won't say anything else." At this moment, Naruto, who had been watching the show, finally moved. He took a few steps forward, stared into the eyes of the two Ghost Brothers and asked again in a deep voice. "Say, what is your purpose?" Naruto's voice was long and deep, as if it had a hint of bewitchment. Immediately, everyone saw that the Ghost Brother, who was still very strong a second ago, suddenly had his pupils dilated, his eyes were dull, and his voice was like a machine, saying, "We are following Cardo's order to assassinate Danas so that he cannot go back to build the bridge." Watching this scene, Kakashi's eyes flashed, and he thought to himself, is Naruto really proficient in genjutsu? But since Naruto has no chakra, what energy does he rely on? In fact, what Naruto just performed, it's not an illusion, but the sound of bewitching that the nine-tailed Sky Fox clan is born with. Facing the idiot brothers, the Ghost Brothers, it was very easy for Naruto to bewitch them. Kakashi glanced at Naruto again, who had regained his composure, and then said seriously, "Mr. Danas, I think you need to give us an explanation. This is already a B-level mission or above, and your mission the levels are seriously inconsistent, and you haven't provided correct information. This is a very dangerous matter." Kakashi's expression became extremely serious when he said this. Danas saw that Brother Ghost had confessed truthfully and could no longer hide anything. He sighed slightly and said in a deep voice, "In fact, there is a super scary person who wants my life." Kakashi frowned. "Who is the super scary person?" "Yes, you should have heard of his name. He is the tycoon of the shipping company, a man named Cardo." Kakashi was speechless. He was just a businessman. He was also a very scary person. I thought he was a traitorous ninja. Seeing that no one paid attention to him, Danas had no choice but to explain again, although he is a sea freighter on the surface. The big boss of the company, but privately he has been using the wandering trader to do some illegal things, and has even been infringing on other countries and companies. He is simply a man who eats people without spitting out their bones. Kakashi frowned again. No wonder he actually took advantage of the wandering rebellious ninja. It seems that he can no longer be tolerated. Yes, our country of waves is a small country, surrounded by water, and transportation is not convenient. And Cardo, this crazy guy, monopolized all our ships and transportation routes in order to make money, so he tried every means to prevent me from building the bridge. Not only that, it is because of him that our country of waves is getting poorer and poorer. Even the daimyo does not have much money, and all the money is used to build bridges. Therefore, I can only provide sea and the money for the task, but once we can repair the bridge to the outside world, our life will soon become rich." Danaz's voice was very firm at this time. "So fellow ninjas, for the sake of all our people in the land of waves, please help me. Thank you." After that, Danaz bowed deeply towards Naruto and his group. Seeing that Danaz's attitude was still sincere, Naruto nodded and said lightly, "Kakashi-sensei, since so, let's continue the mission. If there are enemies, leave it to Sasuke. If Sasuke can't do it, you can go on." If you can't do it, then I will have to wipe your butts. Kakashi and Sasuke black lines. Why does this sound like you despise them as a burden? At the same time, in a villa in the land of waves, Kato was angrily pointing at Zabuza's head and yelling, "You are so useless, I spent a lot of money to invite you here, and you can't even bring an old man here. They can't even kill him." Looking at the arrogant Cardo, the masked ninja sitting in the middle immediately stretched out his giant sword and pointed it at Cardo's face with an imposing manner. His voice was cold. "Don't be wordy. Next time I will use this decapitating sword to deal with them personally, don't worry." Kato trembled and did not dare to look at Zabuza's sword again. Ahem, but they seem to have also invited powerful ninjas, plus the ghost brothers. The failure also made them more vigilant. It won't be so easy to assassinate them next time, right? Cardo said nervously. Who do you think I am? I am Zabuza Momochi, who is also known as the Kurigakure demon. I heard the voice of the masked ninja coming slowly, with incomparable confidence and strong murderous intent. 2 hours later, Naruto and his party had disembarked from the boat and were walking on the path leading to Danaza's house. Whoosh! Just as they reached a creek, a muffled groan suddenly came from the woods behind them to their left. Although Kakashi didn't know what happened, he immediately rushed over to check and found only a faint blood stain on the ground and the frightened Yukito. However, it was obvious that the blood stain did not belong to the Yukito. At the same time, Naruto's faint voice sounded in his ears, "Kakashi-sensei, the enemy is coming." In fact, as soon as Zabuza approached, he was immediately discovered by Naruto, but Naruto did not say it out loud. Instead, he controlled the golden shuriken found from Sasuke's house and shot it instantly. Zabuza obviously did not expect that Naruto would be able to detect his presence so quickly. In addition, the golden shuriken was extremely fast. Even if he used the substitute technique instantly, his right arm was still scratched. Fortunately, the wound is not big. But now that it had been discovered, Zabuza decided not to hide anymore. Immediately, everyone suddenly noticed a strong gust of wind coming towards them with a strong murderous aura. Get down! Boom! In an instant, a giant sword flew quickly over their heads and was nailed into the branch in front of them. On the knife stood a masked ninja with amazing momentum. Kurikage rebels against ninja, Momochi Zabuza. Trouble now. Kakashi recognized Zabuza the moment he saw the decapitating sword, his expression serious. No wonder the Oni Brotherhood failed. It turned out that they met the legendary man who copied thousands of ninjutsu, the copying ninja Kakashi. Zabuza stared into Kakashi's eyes and said in a deep voice. "Mr. Kakashi, don't be so nervous. Although his appearance is very impressive, he is still injured. Didn't you see that his right arm is still bleeding?" At this time, Naruto's voice was still so leisurely. Yeah. Kakashi raised his eyes and followed Naruto's voice. Sure enough, he found that Zabuza's right arm was simply bandaged with gauze, and there were traces of blood seeping out. What? Could it be that you, the little devil, was responsible for the blow just now? At this time, Zabuza finally lost his composure and looked at Naruto in horror. You know, he had always thought it was Kakashi who stabbed the other person. It wasn't until Naruto made a sound and contacted Kakashi's expression that he realized, come on, that blow just now was probably done by that yellow-haired kid. When did all the brats in Konoha become so powerful? Zabuza muttered, but despite thinking this, Zabuza's momentum remained unabated, staring closely at Kakashi's figure, and said coldly, Kakashi, can you hand that old man over to me? The one who responded to Zabuza was Kakashi's Scarlet Sharingan. Looking at Kakashi's expression at this time, Zabuza also knew that it was obviously impossible for Konoha's ninjas to give up their mission goals, and he had already expected it, so he just tried it out. After all, Kakashi is an elite Junin who has been famous in the ninja world for many years. Zabuza did not want to fight with Kakashi unless necessary, but he accepted this mission. You know, Kurigakure village will not stop accepting missions, even though he became a traitorous ninja, he didn't get rid of this habit. So the negotiation has failed, and it seems I have to kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, Zabuza, who was still on the tree just now, quickly jumped into the water, his feet floating on the water, and his whole body was surrounded by thick blue chakra, one finger pointing to the sky, one hand on the chest. Water release, mist and shadow technique. Immediately, Zabuza gradually disappeared above the water. At the same time, a huge thick fog immediately appeared around him. The entire space was a vast expanse of white, and their respective figures could not be seen clearly. But this had no impact on Naruto. After all, he had consciousness besides his eyes, so he was still aware of everything around him. Sasuke was also very calm, quickly opened his Sharingan, and looked at the dense fog and body around him vigilantly. Tight and on guard at all times, only Sakura was trembling with fear, but still did not leave Danaza's side, closely guarding their mission goal. Sasuke, Naruto, Sakura, you protect Danaz, I will deal with Zabuza. Kakashi's voice has never been so serious at this time. It is obvious that the enemy is really very difficult. In an instant, 8 places, throat, back, lungs, liver, carotid artery, subclavian artery, kidney, heart, which key point do you want me to attack? Due to the thick fog surrounding it, Zabuza's cold voice seemed to be everywhere, which was extremely frightening. The thick murderous aura continuously seeped into their skin through the fog, making people tremble unconsciously. This is exactly what Zabuza said. The famous trick, the silent killing technique. Is this the true strength of a Jonin? It seems that I am still too weak, and my body is shaking uncontrollably. Although Sasuke now has the strength of an elite Chunin, he has too little combat experience, so his ability to resist Zabuza's murderous aura accumulated over the years is almost zero. Sasuke, you must believe in your own strength, don't be fooled by the outside world, and stick to your heart. At this time, Naruto's faint voice sounded in Sasuke's ears. And Kakashi stood in front of Sasuke at some point, squinting his eyes and smiling. Yeah, don't worry, even if I die, I will also protect you. At this time, Sakura heard that Kakashi-sensei actually risked his life to protect them, and she was touched for a moment, and she was no longer as scared as before. Immediately, Sasuke gradually cheered up. Although he had little experience against the enemy, he had no resistance at all, but it would be a shame for the surname Uchiha. Wind escape, a big breakthrough. Kakashi watched the fog getting thicker and thicker, and immediately used wind release to disperse the thick fog around them, but within a while, the fog quickly condensed again. It's over, Kakashi, a cold voice suddenly came from behind Kakashi. Just when Kakashi used wind release, Zabuza had already attacked behind Kakashi, and the sharp beheading sword split Kakashi's body into 2 halves in an instant. Poof! I saw that Kakashi's body turned into a puddle of water, and the real Kakashi was already holding a kunai and pressing it against Zabuza's neck. Yes, it's over. Kakashi-sensei is great. When Sakura saw this scene, she immediately cheered excitedly, but it was too early for her to be happy. As expected of Kakashi, he actually copied my water clone in an instant. But you are still too naive. It is impossible to hit me with just random imitation. Zabuza didn't care about the threat of kunai around his neck, and still said coldly. What? Kakashi looked at Zabuza warily, and then decided not to hold back, and the kunai inserted directly into Zabuza's neck. At this moment, another Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi again, holding up the decapitating sword and heading toward him at high speed. Kakashi slashed. However, Kakashi was indeed an experienced Junin. He immediately bent down and avoided this fatal blow. However, he never expected that Zabuza's other kick would strike at an extremely tricky angle. He attacked, but Kakashi didn't notice and was instantly kicked into the water. Water escape, water prison technique. Just when Kakashi just surfaced, Zabuza had already completed the seal. What? Why is this water so heavy? Kakashi said in horror. Kakashi, this is a water prison that you absolutely cannot break. Zabuza looked at the trapped Kakashi coldly, then turned his eyes and looked at Naruto solemnly. After all, he had just suffered a blow from this kid. Water body. At this time, Zabuza controlled the water prison with one hand and formed a seal with one hand. He saw 2 identical water bodies floating on the water at the same time. Although he had expected all this, Naruto still helplessly held his forehead. Kakashi-sensei, although I already knew you were unreliable, I didn't expect you to be so unreliable. You failed too quickly. It's really troublesome to ask me to wipe your ass after all. Kakashi Blackline, you still have the nerve to say that I didn't even see you helping me when I was in such danger just now, and now you are saying that, what were you doing? However, Kakashi could only complain about these words silently in his heart, and did not dare to say them out. After all, he was still counting on Naruto to save him. Although he didn't know Naruto's specific strength, Kakashi was sure that Naruto was still very strong and saving him would definitely not be a problem. Looking at the water clone that was already rushing towards him, Naruto said calmly, "Sasuke, I leave the water clone to you. I'll go rescue Kakashi." After that, Naruto ignored the two water clones. Rising directly into the air, the pure white kimono gradually merged with the surrounding dense fog and disappeared. Extremely secretive technique, magical shackles. Naruto's faint voice suddenly came from the sky. At this time, Naruto's eyes also turned into a demonic blood red, constantly glowing with golden light. However, because the fog was too thick, no one noticed the abnormality in Naruto's eyes. Then, a very faint sound broke through the thick fog and attacked Zabuza. It was the golden shuriken surrounded by the thick fog that Zabuza had integrated into the chakra, so what happened to Zabuza in the fog? He was clear about it, but obviously he was not worried. He still had a decapitating sword in his hand, so it was easy to block the hidden weapon. However, in the next second, Zabuza suddenly opened his eyes wide and said in disbelief, "Why can't my body move suddenly? Can that kid in the water use the restraint technique? What a scary little devil." Poof, poof, ding, plop. In an instant, three different voices sounded, and Zabuza's figure had sunk into the water, Kakashi's water prison was broken, and Zabuza's water body disappeared. All of this just happened in the midst of lightning and flint. Sasuke didn't even have time to take action. In fact, in the last second, after Zabuza suddenly realized that he couldn't move, he immediately recalled two water clones to help him block it. However, the water clone was too fragile. He was instantly penetrated by Naruto's silver shuriken, but luckily, the water body also delayed Zabuza for 1 second. However, in this 1 second, Zabuza discovered him. The stiff body suddenly recovered. So Zabuza quickly raised the beheading sword to his chest in a hurry. Although there was a buffer from the water body, the power that Zabuza could use in a hurry was not enough to harmonize with Ming. He was still standing on the water, and his leverage point was not strong enough. Although he blocked Naruto's golden shuriken, his body was also hit by the aftermath of the shuriken. Naruto actually wanted to kill Zabuza directly just now, but due to Naruto's miscalculation, Zabuza did not die. You know, Zabuza is a real elite Jonin after all, and Naruto just consumed nearly 70% of his mental power could barely control Zabuza for about 2 seconds. However, according to Naruto's calculations, even if the surroundings were buffered by the thick fog full of chakra, Naruto's shuriken could be suppressed within 1 second. Zabuza was killed, so Naruto felt that controlling it for 2 seconds was enough. However, he never expected that Zabuza would react so quickly, and quickly recalled two water avatars in front of him, fighting for Zabuza's main body. For a long time, Naruto's control failed, so in the end Zabuza was just knocked into the water. At the same time, Kakashi, who was rescued by Naruto, felt so tired after fighting Zabuza just now. I haven't taken any advantage for a long time, but I was blown away so easily by Naruto. In such a comparison, it seems that I am indeed a laggard. The most important thing is that I didn't see clearly how Naruto took action with my Sharingan open. This is the most regrettable thing. Sasuke, who was staying on the shore, was even more speechless. He just asked me to deal with the water body, but in the blink of an eye, he was killed by you yourself. Can you please stop being so pushy? Also leave some opportunities for me. Didn't I promise that I would take the lead? But they all seemed to have forgotten that Zabuza was not dead at this time. On the lake, Kakashi and Zabuza faced each other face to face, staring into each other's eyes, neither of them dared to relax. After all, in a battle of this level, if the opponent catches a slight flaw, it will be a fatal blow. However, only Zabuza knew that due to the strong impact he had just received from Naruto, he had already suffered a lot of internal injuries, and he had to fight quickly, otherwise the longer it took, the worse it would be. In fact, Zabuza had already lost the opportunity when he stared into Kakashi's eyes. You must know that the Sharingan is one of the 3 major pupil techniques. It not only has strong insight and analysis capabilities, but also has powerful illusion abilities, so Zabuza has already been hit by Kakashi's pupil technique without knowing it. Fortunately, Kakashi's Sharingan is not a genjutsu eye, it can only create some mental pressure on Zabuza. Not only that, Kakashi also discovered Zabuza's physical discomfort through his Sharingan observation, and knew that this was the best time, so he took the lead. I saw Kakashi's fingers flying, literally 5 seals per second. In one breath, Kakashi's ninjutsu was completed immediately. When Zabuza saw how fast Kakashi was forming the seal, he was even slower. In such a hurry, Zabuza didn't know what ninjutsu he had cast, but he and Kakashi completed the seal at the same time. Water escape, the art of waterfall. Water escape, water dragon bullet technique. Since Kakashi had just been disliked by Naruto, he was full of resentment and had nowhere to vent, so he directly used a big move on Zabuza, and instantly used the A-level waterfall technique. Strive to fight quickly. Quick attack, hoping to save some face in front of Naruto, and Zabuza only had time to use the B-level water dragon bullet technique. The seal style was much simpler than the great waterfall technique, so they could complete it at the same time. Obviously, the power of A-level ninjutsu was completely defeated by B-level ninjutsu, not to mention that the person using it was Kakashi. In an instant, the overwhelming water flow rolled up at high speed, roaring towards Zabuza like a tsunami, quickly crushing Zabuza. The water dragon bullet technique he just summoned. Not only that, Kakashi's fingers still didn't stop, his eyes were fixed on Zabuza's figure. He felt that he should be taught a profound lesson, so Kakashi said it again. 5 seconds, and a moment later, another powerful ninjutsu has been formed. Secret. Rage. I saw a huge blue light suddenly light up in Kakashi's hand, as fierce as a thunderous army, and the electric snake kept flashing. The sound of strong friction was endless. This was Kakashi's own ninjutsu, Reikiri. It is an upgraded version of Chidori. It incorporates Kakashi's thunder attribute chakra, and its power is even more terrifying. It is definitely as powerful as S-level ninjutsu. However, Kakashi did not control Reikiri to move towards Zabuza. Instead of rushing away, he slapped hard into the water. As we all know, water can conduct electricity, so Kakashi's slap just now gave the great waterfall jutsu the power of thunder and lightning, becoming a composite ninjutsu. Wow! Zabuza's body was quickly knocked unconscious by the huge waterfall mixed with the power of thunder and lightning. After a while, when the water gradually receded, Zabuza's figure slowly emerged from the water and hid under a tree. Whoosh! At this time, a very small sound of breaking through the air sounded. I saw 2 senbons shooting towards the main artery of Zabuza's neck at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Poof! The sharp senbon instantly pierced Zabuza's neck, and tall blood flowers bloomed in the air. Immediately, Zabuza, who was paralyzed, was knocked to the ground by the impact of the 2 senbons. His eyes were wide open, as if he was unwilling to rest in peace. Therefore, when Kakashi arrived, what he saw was this scene. He gently stepped forward to check Zabuza's pulse. Sure enough, he was no longer alive. At this time, a soft voice came from the branches, "Thank you very much. I have been looking for an opportunity to completely kill Zabuza." Although the voice was soft, it was as cold and emotionless as Zabuza. Only then did Kakashi realize that at some point, there was a masked boy standing on the tree. He could not tell whether he was a man or a woman. He was bowing to Kakashi and said, "That mask, if I remember correctly, you should be part of the rebel ninja hunting force in Kurigakure village." Kakashi's eyes flashed and he said seriously, "You have good eyesight. It seems that you know very well. I am indeed a member of the Kurigakure ninja hunting force, specializing in hunting down these ninjas who randomly defected from the village." The masked boy said calmly. Kakashi carefully observed the boy's figure and felt that he should be about the same age as Naruto and the others. He was surprised in his heart. This boy is definitely not simple. He can join the ninja hunting force at such a young age. And as far as I know, the minimum requirement to join Kurigakure's hunting force is to be a Junin, and he can still come to me quietly. At this time, Naruto and the others also rushed over and looked at the masked boy together. Is this Minazuki Bai? It's indeed a girl. Through the observation of his spiritual sense, Naruto discovered Shiro's true gender at a glance. Sure enough, Naruto was deceived in the cartoon. But then, Naruto opened his eyes slightly. Because through the spiritual exploration just now, Naruto not only discovered that Shiro is a girl, but what is even more amazing is Shiro's strength. The amount of chakra in his body is very strong and solid, almost as much as Zabuza, but looking at the animation it seems that the strength is not that great. Maybe it's really because Bai is so kind. Naruto thought so. Thank you again, there are too many secrets in Zabuza's body, I have to deal with it, take the first step. At this time, Shiro had jumped down from the tree, holding Zabuza's body, using his still emotionless the voice said to Kakashi. Of course Naruto, who had watched the animation, knew that Zabuza was just pretending to die at this time, but Naruto had no intention of stopping him. Although he knew that letting them go now would be very troublesome in the future. Everyone knew that Kakashi was already at the end of his strength, and because he had just released the magic shackles, his mental power was only 30%. The chance of defeating the current Minazuki Shiro was very slim. He is no longer a match for Minazuki Haku, so Naruto doesn't want to take the risk. Although Minazuki Haku is very kind, who knows what will happen if she goes to great lengths to save Zabuza. Although Naruto didn't say anything to stop it, Kakashi's annoying voice suddenly sounded. Do not move. You are definitely not the one Kurigakure is chasing after the troops. Kurigakure's methods of chasing down troops are very cruel, and he won't collect corpses for others, but directly chops off the head, so you and Zabuza are in the same group. Kakashi's voice was very sure, and he stared at Minazuki Haku's figure closely. Only Naruto helplessly held his forehead. Is Kakashi showing off his brain? He actually left Haku to stay. What a teammate like a pig. Just as Kakashi finished speaking, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became solemn. The surrounding branches rustled, and everyone's heartbeat was particularly clear. Naruto was very surprised and felt that this was definitely Kakashi's brain trick. Doesn't he know his physical condition? Is it really okay to use the Sharingan for so long? In fact, it was mainly because of the blow Naruto had just dealt with Zabuza. Although he didn't see it in detail, Kakashi was very reassured by his ability to knock Zabuza away with just one shuriken. What's more, there is Sasuke. You know, Sasuke is also a talented boy with 3 Magatama Sharingan. It shouldn't be a problem to deal with this masked boy. That's why Kakashi directly exposed Minazuki Haku's fake identity. He didn't want to trouble them again next time. After all, one time was enough for a powerful enemy like Zabuza. What if the helpers who came next time were even more powerful? Manage. Has it been discovered? It's not easy to deal with now. Zabuza-sama's injury must be treated as soon as possible. We can't delay it any longer. Shiro looked at Kakashi's determined eyes and could only silently calculate countermeasures in his heart. But at the same time, Sasuke looked at the water. Minazuki Shiro's eyes were very excited. Yes, he was excited. Judging from Minazuki Shiro's figure, he should be about the same size as himself, but he felt so powerful if he didn't look at Kakashi. After speaking, Sasuke must have rushed forward. However, Naruto on the side also noticed Sasuke's fighting eyes, but Naruto could only continue to hold his forehead helplessly. What is this? Their teammates are like pigs, and Sasuke is a middle-aged and aggressive boy. In the end, they have to rely on me to wipe their butts, which is really tiring. But even though he thinks about it, Naruto still feels that he has to come out to save the situation, just in case of Sui Wu. What if Yubai rushes towards Kakashi in a hurry? Naruto has already despaired of Kakashi's unreliable idiot. Mr. Kakashi, leave the rest to Sasuke. You see, Sasuke can hardly wait. And secretly winked at Kakashi. However, Kakashi was indeed a pig-like teammate and did not understand what Naruto meant. He thought that Naruto just wanted to train Sasuke and give him some combat experience. Okay. Then Kakashi responded with 2 words coldly, and immediately retreated to another tree, pretending to watch the battle, but actually resting. After all, Kakashi himself was very aware of Kakashi's current physical condition and had no ability to continue fighting. So even though Kakashi misunderstood what Naruto meant, the result was the same, which finally gave Naruto a hint of relief. Then Naruto quickly took Sakura and Dana with him. I retreated to the distant branch, leaving the battlefield to Sasuke and Minazuki Haku. After Haku put Zabuza's body in place, he turned to Sasuke and said coldly, "You can't defeat me. Give up as soon as possible, I don't want to hurt you." Humph, everyone can tell lies. Only after comparing them will you know. Take the trick. Sasuke couldn't stand Shiro's arrogant look, so he immediately took out a kunai and rushed forward. But Shiro didn't dare to push Sasuke when he saw such a fast speed, and immediately took out 1,000 books to resist. Ding! Ding! For a moment, the sound of collision between kunai and Senbon could be heard endlessly. But after a while, Bai gradually found himself at a disadvantage. Although the blood successors of the Minazuki clan are very powerful, their physical skills are a major weakness, and Shiro is obviously the same, not proficient in physical skills. Then, within a short while, Shiro was kicked out by Sasuke. This made Bai finally understand that she could no longer hide her clumsiness. She had underestimated Sasuke just now. So Shiro stood up quickly distanced himself from Sasuke, and took the seal with one hand. Secret technique, 1,000 killings water soaring. I saw the surrounding water flowing quickly into the air, like thick white clouds. In an instant, all the water masses turned into ice and bonds, and moved towards Sasuke's body at extremely high speeds. Sasuke, who had been staring at Shiro, was shocked and said, "He can actually form a seal with one hand." But looking at the astonishing number of thousands of ice in the sky, it is obvious that now is not the time to think so much, and the range is too wide. With Sasuke's current speed, it is impossible to dodge its attack range. Although the range of Shiro's move is very wide, but Sasuke is not that easy to deal with now. Sasuke smiled confidently and quickly formed a seal. Fire escape, the art of the powerful fire dragon. Endless flames spurted out from Sasuke's mouth, instantly forming a giant fire dragon. Immediately, the huge fire dragon soared in a circle among the thousands of books in the sky, and the Qian Sha Shui Shang immediately melted into a puddle. Water stains. In fact, Shiro was still not fighting Sasuke seriously at this time. You must know that the Sensa Shuixiang move he just used was only the weakest of all Shiro's attacks. In the past, Zabuza-sama's injuries would become more and more serious, especially the Senbon she had just shot on Zabuza-sama's neck. Although it could put Zabuza into a state of suspended animation, if it was not removed within half an hour, Zabuza would be injured. He would really die, so Shiro was extremely anxious. So looking at Sasuke who was so powerful, Shiro finally seemed to have made up his mind and immediately formed seals with his hands. Secret technique, magic mirror ice crystal. All this happened in just an instant. Before Sasuke could react, he was already surrounded by more than 30 huge ice mirrors. Each mirror exuded extremely cold air. This is, what kind of ninjutsu? At this time, Sasuke had opened his Sharingan and was staring at the huge ice mirrors with all his concentration, because through the observation of his Sharingan, he still couldn't see through the principle of this ninjutsu. Not only that, sitting on the other side Kakashi, who was resting on a tree, obviously saw this spectacular scene. Then Kakashi's pupils shrank and he said uncertainly, "Is this, the blood successor limit?" "Kakashi-sensei, what is the blood inheritance limit?" Since Sakura had been staring at Sasuke's battle with all her concentration, when Kakashi said the blood successor limit in shock, Sakura heard it immediately, but she didn't know what the blood successor limit was. At this time Kakashi Nishi's eyes were extremely solemn. The blood inheritance limit, to put it simply, is a magical ability flowing in the blood, and it can be inherited from generation to generation. This ability is extremely powerful and cannot be copied. Just like Sasuke and my Sharingan, just like the eyes, each blood inheritance boundary has extremely special abilities. Judging from the current situation, the young man's blood successor should be Ice Release. This is the legendary blood successor that only belongs to the Suiwuyu clan. But as far as I know, the Suiwuyu clan has been exterminated long ago. How could this happen? Appearing here, it seems that Sasuke is in trouble. Ah! Kakashi-sensei. What do you mean? Is that boy stronger than Sasuke? Sakura screamed. In her opinion, Sasuke is the strongest person among his peers except Naruto. Now there is a boy who is stronger than Sasuke. This makes Sakura feel very unbelievable. Yes, it's hard to believe, but it's very possible. Kakashi responded in a deep voice. Ah! What should we do, Naruto-kun? Go and help Sasuke. Sakura immediately expressed concern to Naruto, who was meditating. At this time, Naruto was still recovering the mental power he had just consumed. Naturally, he had no time to help Sasuke, and it was just a magic mirror ice crystal. Naruto believed that Sasuke I can handle it. So Naruto did not get up, but said calmly, "Don't worry, don't forget that Sasuke also has blood inheritance limits. Sasuke can still handle this level of ninjutsu. Don't think too much about Sasuke's too weak." After that, he ignored Sakura and continued to recover her mental strength. After hearing what Naruto said, Sakura finally let go of the big stone in her heart. She exhaled slowly, patted her chest and whispered softly, "Ah, like this I feel relieved." In fact, the magic mirror ice crystal can only be regarded as a B-level ninjutsu strictly speaking, but with the blood inheritance of the Minazuki clan, this jutsu has barely reached the A level. However, this technique has a huge flaw, that is, it cannot be attacked from the outside. If attacked from the outside, the ice mirror will become extremely fragile. But the inside of the ice mirror is extremely hard because all the chakra is condensed inside. So when Sasuke used the fire escape dragon fire technique again, he was shocked to find that all the mirrors were intact. It's useless, these mirrors all contain the unique ice attribute chakra of our family, which cannot be melted so easily. Now, let me show you my real speed. At this time, Bai has merged into the ice mirror. She is exactly the same in every mirror. Even the voice just now seems to be coming from all directions. In an instant, all the whites took out two Senbons at the same time and shot them at Sasuke at high speed. Due to the reflection of the mirror, there were only two Senbons, but they seemed like thousands of them coming from all directions. Then they just heard, ding, ding, two crisp sounds came. Obviously, Shiro's Senbon did not hit Sasuke. What? How can it be? At this time, Shiro's horrified voice sounded from all directions again. Obviously he couldn't believe that his attack would fail. Sasuke, who had successfully avoided it, raised his head and looked at one of the ice mirrors, and slowly raised the corners of his mouth. Found it. I saw Sasuke immediately taking out 3 kunai, instantly injecting a large amount of chakra, and shooting towards the mirror one after another. Yes, after 2 weeks of training in treading water and climbing trees, Sasuke now has a strong understanding of chakra. The use of kunai is already very proficient, and the Uchiha clan's shuriken technique is already very famous, so Sasuke can use it very flexibly at this time. You know, attaching chakra to kunai can not only make it faster, the power increased exponentially. In an instant, the 3 kunai just shot were nailed to the ice mirror. Ding! Ding! After the 2 sounds came, the 3rd kunai immediately shattered the seemingly indestructible ice mirror. However, Bai had already changed the mirror when the 1st kunai came, so Sasuke's attack still didn't hit her. At the same time, Shiro finally discovered Sasuke's scarlet pupils. Those eyes. It's the Sharingan. No wonder you can see through my attack trajectory. Now I'm in trouble. Shiro stared closely into Sasuke's eyes, constantly thinking about countermeasures. Humph, I admit that you are indeed very fast, but all your actions are in vain in front of my eyes. In my eyes, you have no secrets at all, because as early as the beginning, I'll see through you. At this time, Sasuke looked at Shiro, who had changed his mirror, and said lightly. In fact, he didn't see through this technique at all, he just wanted to put some psychological pressure on Shiro. After a while, the mirror that Sasuke had just destroyed, the ice mirror, instantly returned to its original state. Really, but my attack methods are more than that. Look at my next move, how can you dodge it? Bai didn't pay attention to Sasuke's tone that seemed to see through everything, and still said coldly. Secret technique, magic mirror 1000 kills. As soon as Shiro's words fell, all the ice mirrors glowed with white light at the same time, and countless ice Senbons were shot out in an instant, densely packed, and overwhelmingly shooting towards Sasuke. Facing such a powerful move, Sasuke had nowhere to go. Hide. In fact, Shiro didn't want to use this move, but when she discovered Sasuke's scarlet Sharingan, she felt a serious threat. Moreover, 15 minutes had passed. His life was in danger. Although Shiro was very kind, he still felt that Zabuza-sama was more important. Therefore, Shiro had no choice but to resort to this move and strive to make a quick victory against this overwhelming Hu Senbon. Sasuke also understood that it was useless to use the fire dragon technique at this time. The power of these Senbon was obviously much stronger than that of Sensa Shuixiang just now, but Sasuke did not show any fear, and did not even frown, and even frowned. Slowly raised the corners of his mouth. Boom. The next second, all the Senbon came on Sasuke, and not only that. Sasuke didn't even hide. But the next scene left Shiro completely speechless in shock. He saw everyone being shot. Senbon gave Sasuke a prickly look, bang, turned into a white smoke and disappeared into the air, and the real Sasuke was obviously no longer in the ice mirror. Fire escape. Dragon fire technique. At the same time, Sasuke's cold voice suddenly sounded in Bai's ears. Fire escape. The art of dragon fire. In the next second, Sasuke's cold voice suddenly sounded outside the ice mirror where Shiro was living. But Shiro's reaction was also extremely fast, and he immediately jumped out of the attack range of the fire dragon technique. Then he saw what was still indestructible just now. The magic mirror ice crystals instantly turned into a puddle of water stains. How can it be? Shiro stood not far away, panting, but her mask was still on, so Sasuke didn't know what her expression was at this time. But her trembling voice was enough to prove how deeply shocked she was. In fact, Sasuke had already thought of a countermeasure when he was trapped in the ice mirror. The secret lies in the 3 kunai that Sasuke just shot. Because the first 2 he used were genuine kunai, and only the third one was transformed by Sasuke using his transformation technique. Therefore, as early as the moment when the ice mirror was broken, Sasuke had already escaped from the ice mirror, leaving only a clone inside. This is why Sasuke said in such a pretentious way just now that he had already seen through everything. At the same time, Kakashi, who was sitting in the tree watching this scene, also showed a happy smile, obviously very satisfied with Sasuke's performance just now. Sakura on the other side had eyes full of love, waving her hands excitedly, and said excitedly, Naruto-kun. What you said is indeed right. Sasuke is so awesome. So handsome. Where is Naruto-kun? Kakashi was also confused at this time. After all, his attention was focused on Sasuke just now, so he didn't realize when Naruto left. And that drunkard Danas was already so drunk that he couldn't even open his eyes. Humph, do you have any other tricks now? Sasuke stood not far from Shiro and asked coldly. Shiro sighed helplessly, stared at Sasuke closely, and said in a deep voice, actually, I really don't want to kill you, why can't you? How about simply letting me defeat you? If you're still in the mood to talk big right now, you'd better think about how to survive later. Sasuke was very unhappy when he saw that Shiro was still so arrogant, as if he was bound to lose. He didn't know where she got her confidence. Under the mask, Shiro smiled bitterly and said softly, you are indeed very strong. You must have worked very hard. If it wasn't for Zabuza-sama, I wouldn't have done this. I'm really sorry. After saying that, Shiro's hands were raised at the same time, his fingers were flying, and the speed of the seal was not at all inferior to Kakashi's. Sasuke's expression immediately became solemn when he saw this scene, because Shiro had always done it with one hand just now. The only two-hand seal was the magic mirror ice crystal. And this technique was actually two-handed, and the seal was more complicated. Obviously, the power should not be underestimated, so Sasuke immediately tensed up his muscles and was always on guard, his eyes unblinking. He stared at Bai's movements for a moment, and Bai's technique was completed. In an instant, Bai's cold voice sounded faintly in Sasuke's ears. Shuiwayu secret technique Lengyu Shuangwa. As soon as Shiro finished speaking, Sasuke felt as if the blood in his body had frozen, and he could hardly struggle. The temperature around his body dropped rapidly, and even the water molecules in the air continued to turn into ice crystals. Soon, Sasuke turned into a crystal-clear ice sculpture. At this time, everyone sitting in the tree was shocked. No one expected that Sasuke, who had always had the upper hand, was subdued in an instant and had no resistance. After completing this technique, Bai slowly sat down on the ground, panting. It was obvious that the technique just placed a heavy burden on her. In fact, Bai would never use this technique unless it was absolutely necessary. Leng Yushuanghua's technique was too overbearing, and the person who fell into the technique would almost certainly die. This technique directly controls all the water in the opponent's body, including blood, so that they can quickly drop below zero, until around 20 degrees below zero. That's why Sasuke's body freezes quickly, but not only that, this technique also has a more powerful next move, that is, smashed ice. As long as Shiro casts smashed ice, Sasuke's body will wither piece by piece like broken ice, and he will definitely die. However, due to Shiro's kindness, she did not do this and simply froze Sasuke. But no matter how strong a person is, if he is frozen in ice at -20 degrees, he will not be able to survive for long. Therefore, if Shiro does not help Sasuke thaw, Sasuke will also die, which is enough to show the power and dominance of this technique. Speaking of which, Minazuki Hiro's ice release blood successor is the same as Sasuke's Sharingan. They are divided into 5 stages in total, and the differences in each stage are very big. The first stage is the entry stage. It can control a certain amount of water molecules to turn into ice, and use the secret technique Qian Sha Shuixiang, but its power is weak. The second stage is the enhancement stage. At this stage, it can control a large amount of water, and can perform the gorgeous and powerful secret magic mirror ice crystal, and a series of secret skills derived from the magic mirror ice crystal. The third stage is the strengthening stage, and Bai has just reached this stage. In this stage, Bai can already control the surrounding temperature, change the shape of water at will, and use more powerful secret techniques, which he just dealt with Sasuke's move, Leng Yushuanghua. This technique is extremely powerful, but it also consumes a lot of chakra. Therefore, at this time, Shiro, like Kakashi, was at the end of his strength and had almost no ability to continue fighting. Note: since there is no role for Bai later, there are still 2 stages, so I won't go into details. If he hadn't helped Zabuza pull out the needle within 5 minutes because there was so little time left, Zabuza would really have died. Therefore, Bai Kai resolutely used this fatal blow to Sasuke. At this time, Shiro saw that Sasuke was completely frozen, and finally breathed a sigh of relief, and immediately wanted to turn around and run in the direction of Zabuza-sama. However, the idea is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. Apparently Bai has forgotten that besides Sasuke, there are other people at the scene. Thanks for watching.